name's Gary McGeely, high school practice leader for the Leader in Me. We're extremely excited to be launching our very first teen leadership series entitled QuaranTEENed. Today's episode, How to Influence Others. Team, take it away.
Hey everybody, so my name is Abby, if you're new here, and if you're not new here, welcome back. So today our theme is influencers, and I just wanted to kind of touch on just the topic of influencers as a whole first. So we always think of influencers as like famous people or people that we look up to, but in reality, we are influencers because we all have a platform, especially with social media. We're all given this platform to represent ourselves. So just starting off, what does the idea of being an influencer in your own community, how does that, make you feel? How do you choose to represent yourself? What do you do with that, power in a way?
I think that, like you said, we often think that being an influencer is like a YouTuber in LA, but honestly, we do influence everybody that we meet, because I have memories of being a little kid and somebody older than me may have said something and they didn't realize that I really took it in, but I still remember it to this day. So I just think that making sure what you're saying is something that you'd like to be remembered for, and that if you do something wrong, you're able to come back and say, hey, I shouldn't have done that, let me apologize, because people do pay attention to what you're doing and how you carry yourself, and it's all up to you how you want to be remembered in their eyes.
For me, I always try to keep anything I put on social media just very positive and not try to bash anyone or diss anyone. I try and keep it positive and say things that are gonna make someone smile or just make them think, to keep the world positive and a better place.
Yeah, I try to keep in mind the people that I represent. When I speak out and my actions, they don't just represent me as a person, but also my family, the school I go to, the teams I play on. It goes a lot deeper than what I just do as a person. So I take that pride, I guess you could say, and I make sure that I carry myself a certain way to positively influence others, so I can help make change for the better.
I definitely agree with what Dylan was saying. Every time I walk outside the house, my parents will remind me that I'm a reflection of this home, and of the people who I represent, just like Dylan said. And I think it's important for us to remember that as influencers in our community, you're not only impacting yourself, but you're impacting others. People look up to you and people will follow your example. Actions speak louder than words, and so you're forming your own legacy with every action that you take, and that's all a part of being an influencer.
I like to make sure that I stick to my word. I try not to be, I guess, what I call a follower. So I'm not going to do something that everybody else is doing just because they're doing it. So I guess the way that I try to be an influencer is make sure to do the right thing no matter what everybody else around me is doing, and I guess lead in that way, because if other people see that I'm not doing, they'll think it's okay, they won't feel like an outcast. So I want to be the first one to say no to something that's not good, so that someone else who doesn't want to do it doesn't feel pressured, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I think, honestly, the main idea that kind of all of those answers focus around is that actions speak louder than words. And, that is a really, really true thing, especially with, what we're going through now. We all thought, all of this corona stuff was going to end. Even before summer, I remember when it first started and we were okay, just, get through this month and it'll be over. And it's okay, next month. Oh, month number. Oh, and we're on 4. It's just, continuously, and everything's changing, and so it's so hard to find that foundation to build your leadership off of. So how have you guys during this time figured out how to have your actions speak louder than words, and how to deal with not everyone agreeing with certain choices and things? How have you guys dealt with being an influencer and having that platform around other people?
For me, I think it definitely started with finding who I am as a person first, because it's hard to influence when you don't know what your morals are, what your beliefs are. So this time really just helped, because we all know that when you're a teenager, you're finding yourself and who you're going to be. And this time has really, I feel like it's sped up the process for me. And so once I know what I believe in and what I want to tell the world, I think that's when you have the platform to really do it without being worried about what so-and-so thinks. Because as long as you're proud of yourself at the end of the day for what you've done, it shouldn't matter what other people are saying. It's still good to take advice and to listen to them, but I think you need to know yourself first before you lead people, because it's hard to lead when you aren't sure about what you're leading about. So just making sure that what you're saying and what you're putting on social media or whatever is something that you really stand behind and that you know what you're saying to other people.
I agree with Divine. Like, definitely stay true to yourself. And like, I feel like whenever someone tries kind of to argue with me or just to have a conversation with me, I really I state my case, but then I really try to listen to them and see what they have to say. And then you kind of go from there. And like, sometimes you just agree to disagree, and that's how it goes.
I definitely like what Hannah was saying. I think definitely it's important to listen to understand instead of listen to respond. That's something we've talked about before, and it's something that people really need to cling to. I think for me, something that's really helped is remembering the people that I'm closest to and who I'm impacting the most. So my circle of control isn't just, or my circle of influence isn't just my friends, or the people that I talk to. It's also people like my grandparents, who obviously are higher risk than like me as a teenager. And those are people that I love. And so keeping them at the forefront of my mind, throughout this entire thing has really allowed me to, stay on track with all the different rules and regulations, because I understand the purpose behind it.
Yeah, totally. I think it's very important to know your purpose and know why you're doing what you do. Especially when we're all just trying to find our purpose throughout this whole entire thing. So what is, on an ending note, before we ask Mr. McGuey back, what is one thing that you would say to, the people that you influence, the people that you lead, whether that be younger or older, same age, the people that you interact with? What are some ways or one thing that you would want them to know during this time, just to remain respectful and doing the right thing during this time? What would you guys suggest putting out there as your message?
I would just say stay focused. I know people can get weary doing the same thing over and over again, and sometimes just want to get it over with and just say, I'm done with this. I'm not doing that. I'm not wearing a mask. I just want to go have fun. But we gotta have some self-discipline within ourselves, especially as teenagers. I understand we want to go out, have fun, hang out, have parties and all that, but we just can't do that right now. So we have to have a certain amount of self-discipline and thinking about others when we think about the actions that we do, and just to stay focused in it.
Remember why you're doing certain things. Like when you wear your mask, you know that you're trying to save lives. Make sure you save your own life. Make sure your grandparents don't get it, or if your parents are on the older side, make sure they don't get it. Just try and do your best to get rid of this thing so we can all go back to our normal lives. So just remember why you're doing all of these things to prevent the virus from spreading.
I think also remembering that the people who told us to do these things for a reason. They're scientists and they've studied this is their field. And I know to me, I still don't understand how masks protect you, but they know what they're talking about. They've studied it, they know. So just listening to them, because they're not telling us these things just to make us wear masks for fun. And also that you do influence more people than you think. It's not just your friends, it's not just your siblings, it's not just your family, but there are other people watching, and what you do may influence them, and it could save a life potentially. So
yeah, I would say to people that I influence, I guess I would just say to be considerate, because essentially all of this is just common courtesy, you know what I mean? So I would definitely say to be considerate and be mindful of who you could be affecting, infecting, or whatever.
I agree. I think that as influencers, we have to be our own enforcers. Just like Dylan said, we have to be self-disciplined. And I know I read on USA Today that before Memorial Day, the majority of coronavirus cases were in people older than 45, but like after that, it's like I think it's about 55% of cases are in people younger than 45. And so who is that? That's young adults. That's teenagers. That's people like us who are probably traveling around the most and having the biggest impact on the rest of the world. And so we have to be our own enforcers, and we have to remember that we are influencers, and that can either be good or bad. And it's up to you which type of influence you're going to be.
Yeah, and just like Nyla was saying, my friend told me about how in Asian cultures, if they have like just the flu or anything, they make sure to wear a mask in public. So it really is common courtesy, and just making sure that you wouldn't want somebody to give it to you, so don't give it to other people. That's a good mindset to have.
Yeah, totally. I agree with everything you guys are saying. I think that it's easy to think that, oh, we're young, like we don't really make that much of a difference. But honestly, especially during this quarantine time, like the norm has become younger kids and like teens speaking up for themselves, finding their own ways of expressing themselves and doing different things. Like, especially, I feel like we've been given this time, I mean, yes, to quarantine, but during this time we've found like so many different ways of using our voice. And now that we have found different ways of doing that, it's important to, you know, remember why we're doing what we're doing. So this was a good talk, team. And so now it's time to invite Mr. McGee back.
Well, thank you, influencers. I had a hard time coming up with 3 points. Everything you're saying is, oh, that's gold. Oh, that's gold. So, I mean, one thing I was hearing loud and clear is there's a quote by Albert Schweitzer who said, modeling is not the main means of influence another, it's the only means of influencing others. So I heard that loud and clear. Also heard there's a phrase that people follow our footsteps much quicker than our advice. Once again, there's this piece around modeling. I also heard a few of you talk about the importance of staying true to your why, taking that deeper dive into why we're doing this. We're not doing this because someone tells us to, but we're really making that connection in the spirit of influencing. Just hearing a lot of principles that are being respectful, being considerate, just doing the right thing, positivity. So once again, guys, a very powerful discussion. Once again, there's nothing new here, but it's good for us to hear this and to center ourselves around it. So thank you so much, guys. Have a safe week, influencers, and we'll get to this again next week. All right? Take care. Thank you.